Alright, so we're back again on the latest episode of What the Hell Have I Gotten Myself Into. Um, Back on the boat today. The cap rail's down. We're just in the process of doing the refinish where I had to do all the sanding at the scarfs and all the plugs. We were trying to just stain in those sections and recoat, but it's not going the way that we want, so we're probably going to end up having to strip that back. Sand it all the way around on the top and restain and revarnish so that it's consistent. But you know, that's just part of the price of doing business, I guess. But anyway, I'm back in the master, so we're working on stuff in here. I'll turn you around and kind of walk you through. But first thing I did was cut this pan out that was in here. You can see the piece right there that I cut out, because what I'm gonna do is reshape the bathroom a little bit, square it up. It was kind of set on an angle, and honestly, again, I'm a pretty good sized guy, so when I sat on the toilet in there, I had to put one foot in the bathtub in order to sit comfortably. So we're gonna make sure that's not the case anymore. I can have both feet on the floor, so that'll be awesome. Anyway, so this area over here is where the old bedside, I guess, dresser or stand was on Gina's side. You see down in here. So the air conditioning unit for in here sits here, and it used to sit back further here. Did an excellent job of the installation, by the way. The power distribution box and control module are just kind of sitting there, and the machine, they had a Y down on here that was falling off. It had a gap about that big at the top where it just debonded from using the wrong tape. And it flexed back, went through this hole, and then into here and came up and then poked through the bathroom wall. And then it went clear around here, went right through that hole over there, went through that hatch space, this hatch space, under the dresser, and then inside of this closet over here, and then popped out over here. Well, it's 6-inch line with insulation on it, so all of the storage space over here was completely taken up. You couldn't do anything with that. The original unit sat down in here as well, and the return air was there, and then there was a distribution vent right there. There's the box from it I'm going to reuse. But they had this space just completely muddled up with HVAC lines, and I get it. I mean, I understand that, with the deck down on here, there were only 3 hatch spaces to get in and work. It's a pretty good size unit. Probably wasn't the easiest thing in the world to work on. I understand that. That's perfectly understandable. But the installation was terrible. None of the seams were put together right. All of it was coming apart. So it was leaking air everywhere. The return was jammed up against that power box, so it was having trouble getting air around it, and the filter's full of dust and you couldn't get to it. So I'm going to move this unit forward. You can see the old mounting hole right there. I'm going to move this unit forward, probably a little bit farther forward than it is right now, and that will allow the return air to have a clear airspace. And I'm going to put a return vent over here so that it has a good direct line draft. And then I'm going to run one line around here and back through here to feed that box, which is going to go in right there. So that'll push air out into this space. It's going to Y right there, so one line will turn around, come back through here again, and will be stubbed up inside of that cabinet space, and there'll be a Y on there as well. One line will go into the bathroom, the other line will come up and go inside of that cabinet and up on top of it, and I'll put a vent up there. So that will be a much cleaner installation, and it won't be taking up valuable space in the storage areas that we have. This area over here, once it's cleaned out, I think probably when I put that storage back in the cabinet, I'll probably put a hatch in the bottom of it so that we can utilize this space too, because it's quite a large volume of space. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now. I had to reinforce the front of the cabinet here because this was all delaminated. You know, years of the weight of those drawers sitting on it. And you know, every time that you put weight in this and you push it in and out, it flexes that piece forward and backwards. So to delaminated the plywood and the top here around the drawers. So I went ahead and did some thickened epoxy in there and put the laminations back together, and then put this board on, excuse me, to reinforce that. So now it's nice and solid. I'm going to run another support straight across here. If you look at this is that section of deck. There's a space right here, so I'm going to run the board right there to create more support for that, because this section was just one large section of plywood with two giant hatches cut into it. So when you put weight on it, the thing flexed really badly. So I'm going to put a new support in there. You can see over there the termites got into that one, chewed the end off of it, so we're going to pull that out and replace it. There's some rot damage over there. Termites got into the top of that one and chewed the hell out of it, so I'm going to backfill that. It's tabbed on both sides and the tabbing's intact, so I'm going to flood that with slightly thickened epoxy and let that harden back up, and that'll take care of that. This bulkhead back here is the separation between the master berth and the lazarette, and it's in rough shape in some spots. Like over here, there's some rot and some termite damage. There's termite damage in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back putty that with thickened epoxy, some pretty thick thickened epoxy, like peanut butter quality. I'll backfill that with that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to recover that entire area with another layer of 3/4. The bulkhead is substantively intact. It's just got a couple of little bad spots, primarily on the port side, and the tabbing's released on this side as well. So I'm going to leave that tabbing in place, veneer another sheet on. There's a couple screws in there I'll have to take out, but I'm going to veneer another sheet on with thickened epoxy, put it on there, screw it in, and then I'll come back and seal all those screw heads, obviously. But then on the other side in the lazarette, I'll go in there and cut the old tabbing out that was in bad shape and re-tab and stabilize that wood from that side. So that should pretty well get me over that hump there. I don't have to take it out. It's still, again, it's substantively intact. Yeah, so that's kind of the game plan with that. You know, the floor in here, we had a lot of rot around the old toilet, and I was like, oh boy, we've got that in several places throughout the boat. And I'm like, oh great, you know, there's the sole gone, gonna have to replace the sole. Well, it turns out that there is a 3/4 inch piece of marine ply that's tabbed in. Tabbing's released here, so I'll redo that, but it's tabbed in and it's actually solid. The rot that I was seeing, delamination, was actually a 1/4 inch piece of teak and holly veneer that was placed on it. So that's good. I'm really hoping that elsewhere in the boat, like in the salon where we looked over before by the nav station where it was badly rotted, and over by the old ice maker where it's badly rotted, I'm hoping that it's just that veneer layer. And if it is, then I'm going to pull that up, or if it's intact well enough, I may just leave it down and then stabilize those places that are delaminated. And then I'm going to do a strip plank floor to mimic the teak and holly, and we'll get into that at a much later date. That'll be one of the last things I do in here because it's a finished detail. But so that's kind of where we're at now. I'm just in the process of getting the internal stuff done that I need to get done so that I can get this bed unit sealed back up. And once I do that, then I can start building the bedside cabinet, the new bathroom walls, the cabinets inside of the bathroom, etc., etc., etc. So working on the master first. Once this is put back together and ready for finish, I'll turn it over to Gina, and she'll come in and do the finish work. And then I'll move up into the V-berth, We'll get that done, and once that's ready for finish, she can go up there and do the finish, and then I'll come to the middle of the boat and do the salon and galley, and yeah, work it out from there. So that's the general order of operations right now. All of the water leaks that we had that are in the aft section of the boat from the galley back are resolved. I've got some damaged spots like up in here that need to be probably cut out. The core is rotted and it's saturated, so I probably need to cut that out and re-core that section before I close that up. And then there's one place up here where I'm still getting active water leaking. You know, the galley's here, so all the water leaks from here back are resolved, but there's one spot I saw here today that's still pretty wet, and it's running down this shell. Pretty sure that it's actually coming from around these, which are the shoreline connectors. So I've got two 30 amp and one 50 amp up there. So I've actually got a pair of 30 amp replacements because one of those is completely fried. The other one's not looking so hot. So I'm gonna pull both of those out and I'll reseal that at that time. And I think that will probably take care of the water leaks up there, I hope. If not, we'll find out. And then once I get into this area, the former settee area, which is like a tool dump right now, you know, I've got some rot damage up here. We got more melamine that needs to come down. But this area is going to be converted into a battery bank down here. I'm going to have probably 1,000 or maybe 1,200 amp hours of lithium. And then the rest of this is going to be turned into a workstation, a workbench, tool storage, that sort of thing. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at now. I see another AC vent that'll have to be moved because that'll end up getting covered up, but there's another AC unit inside of that wall right there. Couldn't figure out why the thing wasn't blowing real well until I pulled that cushion away and saw that they had a filter element just kind of laying in there, but the damn cushion was velcroed. You see that white patch on there? That was a piece of velcro. It was velcroed tight against the front of the return air. So I don't know at what level the jackwad that put that in thought that that was going to be a good idea and that would be an adequate air return to feed an entire air conditioner, but it kind of falls into the same stupid dog shit that I keep finding every place else in the boat, where it was like good idea followed by piss poor execution. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. One more little drama that has to be taken care of in the area under the bed before I close that back up, and I guess it really doesn't have to be done before I close it up, but it would make it easier, is the steering cables. You see the pair of them right here going up to the pedestal. When I was in here, you know, digging around and inspecting, I noticed that the cable down in here is frayed. I don't know if you can see that. There it is right there. So cable strand sticking off. So that cable's frayed. So that's another, you know, 500 bucks, you know, what's another dollar at this point. But so that's going to need to be replaced because that cable's in really poor shape. So I guess that's kind of where we're at right now. I was doing some research on that last night for length. I'm going to have to determine a length because there is no, all these Irwins were basically custom made. They were, you know, built on commission. So they are all just a little bit different because it was not a cookie cutter production line, stamp out the boat kind of thing. So there's no consistent data on that. So I'm just going to have to do it the old fashioned way and measure the damn cable length. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at right now. And I guess I'll get back to you.